We are back with Sonia, who is in Washington, D.C., as we said, with the Pope, literally. and
I bet. Yeah.
welcome back. Sonia, you've got a pretty consistent, solid background. You got Big Four, regional public accounting. You've been involved in teaching and organizations in this field. You're now the CEO of Aviva Spectrum, and you do a lot of internal audit, compliance, but you're getting into other areas too. Share with us a little bit about how this evolved, how you evolved in your career, even to the point of, is this what you always wanted to be when you grew up type of deal?
Well, when I was in college, I really thought I was going to graduate with some international business degree. I thought I was going to be a world traveler, which I have done quite a bit of traveling, over 20 countries so far. Um, but there was a professor that influenced me, and he really thought I had the talent in accounting. He approached me after one of his classes, and he said, "Look, I really think that you've got the talent of accounting." And my first knee-jerk reaction was, I don't think women kind of fit the typical mold of an accountant, and the CPA firms, I thought maybe there might be some gender bias, but he assured me that that wasn't the case, that there were great careers, and that I would be better suited for auditing versus tax. That was his first thing, that I had a very outgoing personality, I could, talk to people, and I was a good collaborator in class. That was the other part, and he felt that that would be a great path for me. So that influenced me greatly, and I took his leadership series. He did this on his own, and he got a few students, and oddly enough, accounting students who are accounting majors, and I kind of felt like this was a really good group. And I eventually got recruited to go to Arthur Andersen, but initially that was not my first pick. I thought it was going to be international business and kind of stick to that realm of, possibly M&A transactions, or, working with maybe a larger consulting firm to work as a junior consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that my career has not only spanned, almost 20 years now. I feel like I still have more to learn. And I feel like the more I get ingrained into different types of industries like technology or oil and gas, there's always something new I learn. And interviewing clients and talking to them about the problems, I feel that this is still a joy. I can't find another profession where I can feel I'm adding a lot of value to the client without being a big burden. I know it sounds odd and contradictory because we are there for compliance purposes, but believe it or not, we actually have a goal, our whole team. We have to have 5 business recommendations that the client will accept. So I've told our team that not every idea is a great idea, so you got to double it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally walk through 10 business value propositions to the CFO, knowing full well half of them don't make it. So yes, we do compliance, but when we set that goal in the onset, I'm telling you, when we talk to the CFOs, we say that we try to do our best to be advisory at the end of the day, because we get knee deep. My profession is one of the best professions because I can see all the details of how something works, ask questions, validate it, but yet I want to provide value, and I think my team feels the same way once the compliance effort is done.
Yeah, that leads me to my next point. You just reminded me, a number of years ago, we placed the whole internal audit team at one of our clients, Burger King, world headquarters, and it changed it from an audit, we're going to catch you, we're going to check you type of department, to a consulting, which was to the great credit of the VP we put in there, to change it to a consulting type of operation that did the audit, but also then were the best people to get promoted through the whole company because they knew what was going on. So related to that, you've got a lot of knowledge, and obviously you've got the entrepreneurial spirit to go along with that. That number one, earned you an appointment, you told me, with the SEC on their advisory committee for the smaller and emerging growth companies, correct?
Yes.
That's a long title to put on a business card. But talking to corporate leaders and entrepreneurs that see this, what do you advise them on the importance of compliance, not just obviously want to do things right, but how it can actually help their businesses be successful?
So let me just first start how I even got the appointment. I actually thought it was a joke. And I'm not the only one who thought that. There's some other committee members that got this call, someone we had, a name that we had never heard of before. And they said they were with the SEC. So the first day I'm like, oh my God, am I in trouble? And number two, they said, no, we really have, they're doing a national search. They were trying to augment and recruit new committee members. And I said, how did my name come up? And the answer I have gotten from 3 different people is we get many sources and we do our own search independent as well. And your name came up a couple of times, and let's just leave it at that. So that was great. It was a great honor. I feel like I'm serving my country because none of the committee members get paid to serve. But I wanted to go back to your original question about compliance. So the SEC in this advisory committee, they want to hear the voice of the smaller and emerging companies. These are companies that are thinking of being registered with the Securities Exchange Commission. They want to hear about ideas of actually providing the balance of investor protection, allowing capital raise, to happen, but not over-regulating certain rules. So one thing that has come to mind is cybersecurity. So the Securities Exchange Commission came out with harder rules, more defined disclosure rules, cybersecurity, and they penalize. It's their first case. It's not that big of a company. I think to myself, this broker-dealer got fined, and what's the cost to that? I mean, right? An executive's time for not buying it. 2, money goes out the door. You have this reputation. At that part, I quite understand. And your vendors know it, and he's know it.
Right.
So the value proposition, not only costs less if you try to get down right, you make it. What I have seen companies, the way they is training sessions on certain taking cybersecurity. Get your folks with finance folks with your say, here are the compliance you have to deal with. One size all to comply with it, and wonderful ideas, and you get more and buy-in peers to make not so burdensome. In other words, I've heard better solutions offered by some of the IT folks because it was so myopic in what their group is doing or their other idea is doing, right, that they forget maybe their industry group is doing, and the opposite person brings a different. So there's a lot of benefit, and it doesn't have to be that costly. It's creating that in culture where you collaborate with your other peer group to make, let's say, cost-benefit analysis work for an organization.
Yeah, not a surprise. That we find there's a lot of research companies and to companies where there's a reputation issue, the A player. So it's very costly not to do all that. With peers and investors, we do, we appreciate the due diligence. Appreciate the due diligence of investing. Although thrilled about the cost, own the companies behind you. But they love it before the company. I mean, you've also done international. Tell us a little bit about are there your work and your approach of both, etc.
Yes. So we collaborate with the external. More often, work with the manager. We identify the key contact. So our is pretty well defined. More planning when we're dealing with international acquisitions. More planning meaning, let's get a number. Let's say it takes me on average 12 hours. I would almost double that just because there's other elements. There's cultural elements. There's traveling issues, logistics, right? And then there's also, what's the outcome we're really trying to achieve once we're there? In other words, could there be a byproduct that we can actually achieve while we're there? And that's why we plan a little longer, because more often than not, the executive team wants us to look into other areas besides the original scope. And also there's more monitoring. So once we're there, we have an internal process where daily, the local team or the local management team gets a daily report from us about where we're at. So they get an agenda. We usually try to pick a time, like 3 or 4. It doesn't really matter. But they also feel involved, and they've got a stake in the game to make our process go smoother, because not only have we done more in planning, but once we're there, they really feel we're there on, I don't want to say on their side, but we're there, we're meaningful, we're purposeful, they know the outcomes we're trying to achieve, and we really mean business. And when we leave on Friday at trying to catch a plane at 4, they know exactly the percentage of completion of every single deliverable that we wanted to achieve. And that method creates a lot more trust. What used to happen is more of a weekly update. And in certain international locations, to gain that trust faster, especially if we're only there a few weeks, those little quick 15-minute daily reports, by the time it was over, they felt like, okay, now when you're back, I know exactly what's going on. I know how you guys work. You're very methodical. You're very structured. I trust that when you do this, you mean business, and we're going to comply and help, not comply, but we're going to help you along with the process and get you what you need. So 2 major things: planning, and then more communication on a regular basis for those types of
I think that
situations.
gives you the 2 most important things we talk about with clients is trust and respect. It works all the time. So here's the personal questions I've been holding back on. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
They're very personal. Do you have a pet?
No pets, but I do have 2 boys that are just a pure joy to have, 2 and 4.
And hopefully they're not on leashes, but that's another story.
Not on leashes yet.
Not yet. Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
My favorite activity is actually cooking. So we have 2 boys, and they're adopted, and their birth parents are from different backgrounds. And so I've been learning to cook different cuisines. So I want my home legacy, right? Because there's this part of me that when I pass on, what do I want to leave with my kids? Some really good memories. So when you think about culture, there's language, there's food, there's music, etc. Well, I'm not musically inclined at all. The language part, yeah, exactly. So cooking, I'm really good at cooking. So that has been one of my favorite activities, and it's something that I get a lot of joy out of.
Well, cooking is its own music. Let's put it that way. How's that?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
I don't watch a lot of TV. I read, but when I do watch TV, it's The Walking Dead. It's just, for me, when I watch it, I keep thinking, oh my God, what if this were to really happen? You become you're just not your same self. These are things that, like, high pressure situations. And so seeing these characters evolve into something that they never were prior to the zombies taking over, that fascinates me, because there's a human element of, wow, here's this person that used to play this role and have this career, and now they're forced to act a certain way. So that's the only show I can really honestly say that I actually watch on a regular basis.
Pretty impactful. Have there been any books that you've read or reading now that have impacted you and your work?
So I read frequently, and what I'm working on right now is a book. It's a great, easy read. It's called The Power of Habit. It's a New York Times bestseller. Charles Duhigg is the author, and I'm probably butchering his last name, but the elements in the book are, how do you first off, it focuses on people. How do we human beings create a better habit, right? Because we get locked into certain habits, like
Right.
driving, for example. Like if you have a habit of driving somewhere every day, you're kind of in autopilot. So it goes through what your brain does, which is great. And because it helped me understand the science behind it. And then two, it goes into how human beings can create better habit. And that now I'm in the part of the book, because I haven't finished it, but I'm at the book where how organizations, so now you're dealing with groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get a group to create a better habit, right? So that I'm implementing because in our profession, in compliance, and as I think in general finance and accounting professionals, I'm seeing a generational shift. So I feel I'm in a level where I can talk to baby boomers, but I can also talk to the newly grads, okay? Why? Because I have a mobile device. I've got actually more than one. I understand apps and so forth, and I do research on this. But the power of the power of habit, that book, what I started to do is the baby boomers don't want to be left out in the communication. My generation doesn't want to be left out in the communication, and the younger generation feels like they need a lot more communication. So in my organization, we're trying to bridge those expectations on the frequency and the type of communication. So we actually started a video conference that we're doing. We used to do it every week, and the group decided that that was too frequent. Okay, so now we're moving on to every other week. So that book, how we're applying it is, I want to create that culture where everyone feels like they have a voice. We're using the latest technology. We're doing web conferencing, but it's meaningful. Like our meetings are about what are the roadblocks that we're facing? What are you working on?
Sure.
So my goal is I wanted everyone to have some perspective of what the left hand is doing and what the right hand is doing, and feel like they had a voice to share what they were working on as well.
Well, that'll be so unlike government, so that'll be good.
I know.
Great way to conclude that part. So don't go away. We got more coming, but thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, thanks.